it's me, Jess. Welcome to my channel. I'm here with another channeled message. This is a specific message. It might resonate with you, it might not. Okay, so this message I feel comes off the back of the Leviathan message that I channeled probably a couple of weeks ago now as a live stream. If you're looking for it, I think it was titled The Dance Between Jealousy and Confusion. And it's on the back of that energy that I'm channeling this next message, because it does seem like some kind of threshold was crossed here karmically, or somebody here has like slayed the dragon, and Leviathan is depicted as like a sea dragon. Somebody here has done something, or there's been time called on a situation where I feel like the powers that be, the forces in the universe, something here has called time on this Leviathan energy. So this is very much like a dust settling kind of moment, or that energy being sucked out of this particular situation so that things can become much clearer, and so everybody involved in this situation can know exactly what they're looking at and exactly the truth of who everybody is in this situation and who they've been in this particular situation. That's the time period we seem to be in regards of this particular connection. And that's what this message is about. So in order for us to explore that, we really have to explore this masculine that is at the center and is at the heart of this Leviathan energy. And I'm using Leviathan as a bit of a shortcut to describing this dance between jealousy and confusion, the energies of jealousy and confusion. And it all really does stem from this masculine energy and his particular approach. I really do feel like he's the fog machine in this particular situation. This is why it's been hard for you and for everybody else involved in the situation to break free of him and to claim your independence, because he's a bit of a tyrant, but he does it in this very strategic way, because like I said, he is the Leviathan here. He is kind of like the fog machine, and I feel like I'm supposed to help you kind of see that very clearly here about him. So without further ado, I'm seeing this man, and I'm seeing him surrounded by three feminine energies. And it's in the shape of a triangle, which I feel like is very front and center here, because triangle is the shape of the mind, but also that Bermuda Triangle energy. It's like the confusion, the maze of the mind. And I am hearing Ramana Maharshi, who I feel is my teacher, my guru, my guide, and he is always saying the mind is an obstacle to liberation. And I feel like this man is kind of a master at getting you trapped in your own mind, and therefore you kind of get trapped in his own web. But his story here and his karmas in this situation are very interesting as well. So zeroing in on him, the reason he does this, the way he does this, is because he is a very Mars-oriented person. And it's a real problem here. Now, Mars rules over all men, but all men are supposed to strive to become something much greater than Mars, because Mars is, at the end of the day, Mars is a malefic, and Mars is a very immature energy. Mars is a soldier, which means that Mars is a follower. Mars is not a general, and when you become a general, you become something more than Mars. So if he wants to find himself, and if he wants to be authentic to himself, and he wants to follow God or his own voice or his own creativity, he has to pursue something beyond Mars. But with this man, Mars is the sticky. Mars is his comfort zone that he's really afraid to leave. It's like, who am I if I'm not Mars, if I'm not selfish and if I'm not strategic? How do I operate in my life? And it's almost like he feels naked without it, or he doesn't know what else to kind of grab for. But this is very much like a birdie that's like gonna need to jump out of the nest to learn that he can fly. I mean, he's really stuck on a particular precipice, and that's what's causing all the problems here. And he needs to smarten up, and he needs to wisen up and realize that that is in fact the root cause of all of the issues that he perceives in his love life and in this particular situation that he has found himself in, and that it has all been because of his own folly and his own doing. And that is the karma in this situation, and I'll show you how we get there. So like I said, he's a very Mars-oriented individual. And what I mean by that is he is selfish, he is self-absorbed, he is competitive, he introduces competitors, because keep in mind that Leviathan energy is the dance between jealousy and confusion. So he feels competitive, but he also introduces competitors. In other words, he feels jealous, but he also tries to induce jealousy in other people. And you really don't want to do that. But that is a part of his plan. That is a part of his strategy. And this man feeling he's enacting his strategy by inducing a competitor gives him a false sense of control. He thinks that he's in control. But in doing this, he introduces jealousy into the equation, both his own and other people. So other people's actions become convoluted and they become confused. And it's like he can't because jealousy is going to start, everybody deals with that energy differently. It's going to start to warp situations. People react to that. Some people, I just heard some people in this situation are allergic to that. They're going to have a reaction and they're going to leave. They're going to go take a histamine or an antihistamine. They don't want to be around it. They can't be around it. Something here like that. So, and this also adds to his own confusion, because as he's introducing these competitors, then it adds to his own confusion here as well. And that's where this fog machine, this Leviathan, this dance between jealousy and confusion, this Bermuda Triangle is ignited and it's kept together. Because he is so Martian and he's so strategic. And he's doing this because he thinks he is intelligent. Remember, I told you a big major aspect of this man's karmic lesson is learning his own folly. Because it's like for all of his intellect, which this is Mars is short-term intellect. Mars is strategic, but Mars is impulsive and Mars is like in the moment. Mars does not have the bigger picture. Mars, I will say it again, Mars is not a general. So in the long term, this is going to fall apart for this masculine. It just needs a little time for it to play out. And I feel like that's the line that you've crossed, is that there's been enough time now for basically all of his plans to come crashing down. And I just heard the best laid plans of mice and men often go awry. And that's what he's having to learn, that there are bigger forces and there are other energies besides Mars. There's God, there's fate, there's karma. And other people are people to be contended with. And that's another major part of his karmic lesson. When I say people, I include women in that. Women are also people, because you don't behave like this, where you treat people as pawns and you're very strategic, because Mars is selfish, right? So Mars is not Venus. And this man's trying to play in the realm of women, and he's trying to play in the realm of relationship, which is Venus territory, but he's doing it from a Mars perspective. So he's basically a wolf in sheep's clothing. The sheep's clothing is Venus, pretending to be Venus, pretending to be harmonious, pretending to be interested in love or relationship, pretending to have virtues or values, pretending to make decisions, all of that. But really, in pretending to care about the other person and the other person's perspective and what they might need in the situation. But really, he's just Mars. He's selfish and he only cares about himself. And you only take that approach with somebody that you do not respect as your equal. And there is something about this man that feels like women are inherently unintelligent, because he misunderstands the nature of women. And that's another major part of this karmic lesson, is learning the nature of women, the true, because he does not understand the nature of women. And so one of the funniest parts about this is every single woman that he's involved here with, that he thinks he has strategized around, has been smarter than him and has outmaneuvered him in a way that he didn't even understand. He was being outplayed in the moment, and he didn't even understand that he was being outplayed in the moment. He attributed whatever they did to something else, to accident, to chance. He blamed it on one of the other women. He projected his own Mars energy outwards onto these women. And so as his life path is basically, he's going to engage in this fuckery in the first part of his life, during the courtship phase of his life, and when he's choosing who to settle down with and how he's going to go about pursuing that individual. All of those are part of his karmic lessons. Who you settle down with is a very Venus question, but it's who what you value in your life. Mars is how you go about getting that. So it's also, how is he going to pursue the person that he wants? Is it this weird strategy thing, or is it in a way that's harmonious? And, all of that has a huge bearing on the fate of him and what path he goes down in life. He's going to learn the same karmic lessons. It's just whether or not it's pleasant for his ego or not, right? And part of it is he's got to learn how to respect women, and he's got to understand that every woman he's involved with has been smarter than him, and they've all outplayed him. So now let's take a look at this setup, because as we've crossed this finish line and this Leviathan confusing energy has been sucked out, it's time for the dust to settle and for everybody to see exactly what has been going on here. And I think this confusion has actually crept up into the tarot readings because of how this man presents himself. It can make there be like some crossover and some overlap between these kind of positions on the field. Okay, so like I said, I saw this man sitting in the center, and there's 3 women surrounding him. And I think these are all individuals, because I think there's primaries. There's like a primary person in a certain very fateful, very crossroads kind of situation, which I can't help but think of vacate, who it's like the three roads, the 3 crossroads. And so there could have been magic involved in this situation, honestly, either in past lives or in this one or something. because it's very strong Hecate energy here coming through, because there's these like three crossroads, these three different women. And I do feel that they are different women here, but they are also categories, because keep in mind, this is a strategist and this man uses women as pawns. So if they're around, they could potentially fit in one of these other groups here as well. So let's start with the first, feminine energy. So this feminine energy, I think, goes way back, and others of these feminine energies could go way back as well. But this definitely there's some kind of wound here with her. And I think it's like has to do with when she met this masculine, but there's something to do with her, to do with like high school days or young adulthood, because she is very enamored by this masculine energy. She puts him up on a pedestal and she thinks he is the prize in her life, and she thinks he's her victory in some way. And the reason she thinks that is for some kind of superficial reason that she doesn't identify as just being superficial. She actually thinks it's much deeper than that. And that actually will serve as a justification, which Padmasambhava, which is a Buddhist figure, he says justification is the root of all evil. So she uses this kind of thinking this is a deeper feeling in order to justify her own Mars energy here. Because this is a very interesting person psychologically. But like I said, her reasoning for putting this masculine up on a pedestal is actually a very superficial one that she mistakes as something deeper. And that's because he scratches this itch within her that is deeper, and it's a wound, and it's a self-esteem wound. So when she looks out at this masculine, she thinks that he is very abundant and very at ease and comfortable in an arena or area or something in life that she actually feels very lacking and like she is inadequate, or she has some kind of low self-esteem. And I think this has to do with some kind of like social status or social standing. It might have to do with money and class, but it intersects very strongly. There's something here to do with social standing and social status. And I think that has to do with, this man could be very popular. He could be very attractive, and he could have something going for him in terms of his personality, where it seems to me like both men and women like this guy. Like they want to be his friend, and she seems to know that there's a lot of interest in him romantically as well. And so that's what's causing her to put him up on this pedestal, because she views him as this shortcut. Her mind views him as this shortcut to solving her self-esteem issue, because she thinks if she is on his arm, then that is the way that and the only way that she gets what she wants out of this life, which is to be looked at in a certain way by the social set. She wants the women to be jealous of her. She wants the men to want her. She wants people to see her worth and to see her value. And the way to do that is never through a person or anything that's outside of you. You've got to fix that wound from within. But she doesn't see that. She's entirely enamored and entirely fixated on this particular masculine. And she's encouraged to do this by him as well, because there is a kind of friendliness. It's a light friendliness between herself and this masculine, because there's some shared social group or social setting between the two of them. So they could have overlapping friends. That's true. But I really am getting a strong impression that there's a sibling involved. Like it's something here like that, where it's like there's an older sibling that is, he's a part of that sibling's friend group, regardless of the gender. So that's the feeling of this. Even if it's not that exact scenario, it's like you're the little sister and, your older sibling has this friend group, and all of them are cool anyways because they're older than you. But then this one guy stands out because clearly he's, more attractive than the rest, and everybody seems to laugh at his jokes and like him, and he's charismatic, but he's also very friendly and he's very approachable. And that's the key to what feeds her fantasy, because he's nice to her. And she misunderstands the reason that he's nice to her. He never brings up the differences between the two of them. He never makes her feel less than. He never brings up her own sense of inadequacy. So she mistakes the reason why he's nice to her and why he doesn't ever bring it up. She thinks it must be because he doesn't see her as inadequate, and he's just such a nice guy, and because he takes an interest in her. In reality, he's nice to her because I do think he's just genuinely friendly. Like that's something to do with not just his persona, but his ego identity as well. He's the nice guy. He's the casual guy. He's the guy with all the friends. Like, that's who his ego has identified himself to be. But he very clearly sees that she's enamored with him. And that's what he likes about her. He likes that she follows him around like a puppy dog. He likes that she's enamored with him. And his interest in her is that she is that way. And I actually do think this man is very socially capable, because he seems to think that it's strategic for him to keep women like that around him, maybe men as well, to keep people like that around him, because it talks without him having to talk. It speaks highly of him without him having to speak highly of himself. So when new people are introduced to the group, they sort of notice this kind of wide-eyed, wide mouth open energy from this person that just chases him around, and it adds a level of mystique or intrigue into him, and it puts the attention and the focus on him. People kind of wonder about him. Oh, I wonder, he must be so attractive. So it makes him feel attractive. It makes him feel strong. Not only that, but I told you this man is Mars oriented. He's strategic. He's always thinking about how he can use people, places, and things to his advantage. So first and very much foremost, she is a backup plan to him. If other things in his life don't work out, he always knows that there's somebody like this that he can fall back on, that really does not care how much he's overlooked them, or how much he's disrespected them, or how much he chooses other people over them, because he knows that he's got more on a social. He knows it very clearly. He weaponizes it against them, but he just does it with a smile. So it's hidden enemy territory, both of them. Both of them are hidden enemies to each other, but he feels that she's a backup plan for him, basically, should he ever need one. And that also supports his position, and that makes him feel good as well. But also he knows that there's going to be people that he is more attracted to in a direct way, and paths that he's attracted to in a direct way. And when he meets those people, or if he knows that there already is that kind of person, again, it suits him to have people that are attracted to him around him all the time, because he feels it signals to those people that he's attractive and that there's a certain level of competition, and he feels like it gives him a leg up. Not only that, he can use her as a pawn. And I think if she really asks herself, she'll notice that he gives her the time of day and a very strategic time. But she can't see it. In the moment, I think she's got to get some road behind her, but in the moment she can't see it, that, at this party, he was really talking to me, he's flirting with me, and, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, there's a girl at that party that he really wants her attention, and he wants her to think that there's competition. So he's really stoking up the flirty flames with her to try to get this other woman's attention. He's just using her. She can't see it. So it's something like that, where he just feels he can use her in this way, and that she will always forgive, because it's this Taylor Swift energy of what you've been looking for has been here the whole time. And it will never be that between the two of them, because he might well come back around in between girlfriends or whatever, but it'll just be when the things he actually wants to pursue doesn't work out. It's never going to be that he realizes like this person's worth and value in any way outside of being a backup plan, or being willing to give him things that he really hasn't earned, So they're hidden enemies to each other, because he keeps her feeling small. He actually feeds this self-esteem wound within her. And he keeps her distracted from addressing it directly herself. But true to the theme of his karma, she will outmaneuver him, because if he tries to use her as a competitor, I think that she is going to run one of them off, at least one of them, if not more than one. Somebody that he really wants, somebody that he actually wants. She's going to actually succeed in running her off, because she understands women better than he does, or she understands this particular kind of woman better than he does. And the last thing I want to say about this first woman here is that she's kind of a split. She's not all Mars, but she's not all Venus. She's kind of split between two. She wants to love this man. That's what she tells her. She wants to be beautiful to him. She wants to be harmonious with him. She wants to have an equal give and take relationship. But she does not occupy that place in his heart or in his mind naturally. And we all have people like that, that no matter how hard we try, we're just never going to be what it is that they're looking for. And that's just who she is to this particular masculine. So she has to be strategic. She has to be competitive. I think she has told herself that because she does not win competitions when it comes to him, like he will pursue many other women that she that actually exacerbate her self-esteem wound. So she's got her fixated on him because she thinks, oh, he's going to fix my self-esteem wound. But then he associates with women who are like him, who are equal to him in whatever she's trying to gain, because there's a known equality. She is the one that is acknowledging. They both do. He just doesn't do it overtly. She thinks, oh, he's more attractive, he's more popular. So he actually associates with his equals. He associates with women who are also attractive, also charismatic, also very social, or accepted by the social set, naturally, because that's a Libran relationship dynamic. They're equals here. And she looks at them and thinks that because she loses these competitions, she's not competitive, that they're the ones that are actually competitive. But she's looking at that situation through the lens of competition because she is competitive. And she wants to believe things that are not true. She wants to believe that because they have these things over her, whatever he seems to value, that it means that they're mean, or it means, and that's not true for all of these women. And we'll get more into that as we explore these two other groups here. That's just not always the case. In fact, she's actually been lacking in these ways, and she's been the more competitive, like evil one. She has towards one of these other people that didn't deserve it, and was very beautiful on the outside, but also very beautiful on the inside. So she doesn't like to look at her own Mars. She has played the game. She has done something underhand here. She has been strategic in this situation. She justifies it. And justification is the root of all evil. She justifies it because they're soulmates, because she thinks these other women are all Mars, and they're not. She thinks that they're all mean and that God smiles upon her doing this. She doesn't like to look at it, but it needed to be done so that she can love him. So that's her disorientation here, this like first feminine energy. Now, let's move up to these other two, because it is an upward movement here. So both of these other two groups of women, he finds to be beautiful. Like they're the ones that he finds like that he wants to actively pursue in some way. He wants to be associated with them. He wants them to be his girlfriend. He wants out in the light of day kind of thing. And I think so they're both, I think, very physically beautiful. And I think, again, they're like him on that social level thing. They seem to have, again, like maybe some kind of social status, or again, they're liked by both men and women. They're very friendly. There's somebody that comes with some kind of status. It's a good person to kind of like have on your arm. I think both of these other two women and these other two like kind of groups have that same thing in common. But we've explored this theme on my channel multiple times. One of these women is very Venus oriented, and I do think she's his Venus because she's showing up here as Venus. So in astrology, Venus is what we want. And this man can't see what he wants because he's not in Venus energy, because he is Mars. He is always strategic. Even in the domains that Venus or any other planetary body should rule over, he still applies his Mars energy. So when this man's tower comes kind of crashing and burning and he's starting to reflect, that's when I think he's going to realize, because he's confused, because he just feels like he's the shit, basically. He just thinks, oh God, well, everybody's just after me all the time. And I don't do anything to, because he's kind of like this other lady that we just finished talking about, where he's like, he doesn't like to look at his own Mars energy either, but he's always doing the Mars thing. But he doesn't like to admit it. He doesn't like to admit that he stokes these flames of competition, that he courts it. He courts this jealousy. It confuses his lovers, and it confuses the ones that he actually wants too, as to who he is, what his character is, who he actually wants, what he's capable of producing in terms of a relationship. But it also confuses him. And he likes to confuse his own self by not admitting that he has been Martian when he's been Martian. So he likes to engage his Mars. So like I said, there is Venus here, and she's the only Venus that is just pure Venus here, like on the board. And Venus is what we want, and she is what he wants. She does actually represent his idea and ideal, is what I heard, of beauty, of values, of virtues, of principles, somebody that he wants to partner up with, that he feels like he's in good balance and harmony with. He at least would feel that if he could expand beyond his comfort zone, expand beyond his Mars, which is his karma here. He's got to be that little bird that says, clearly this isn't working, this is worth it, I'm going to go after this. And she's the one that he needs to go after. And that's basically his highest and best path, is to go after her, because he's going to learn all the lessons that he needs to. And he'll reap the rewards of it, with her. But anyway, so this Venus-oriented person, again, very beautiful, very strong social standing kind of thing, charismatic, but she's Venus-oriented, meaning she doesn't play the competition game. She's not somebody who plays games. She doesn't do competition. She doesn't want a third-party situation. She's very Venus-oriented. So she feels like if she's the apple of his eye, and if he loves her so much, then he should be with her, and he should choose her. And she also thinks she can see that he's Mars, especially if he's involved in this competitive energy. She actually doesn't think that he's cool for having all these women around. She thinks he's mean. She thinks that he's got this little girl following him around with her mouth open, and she thinks he's mean for doing that, because she thinks he could easily clear that up. if he wanted to. And he could be a virtuous man. And she's looking to see whether or not he will be that. So if he's going to introduce these competitors, or if he's going to have all this going on around him, she actually does not respect him. She doesn't think that that's a good thing to do at all. So that's what she thinks. But she also, Venus is broadly intelligent. And this, remember I said, every single one of these women in their own way has outfought him and outmaneuvered him. And I don't think she was trying to outmaneuver him. She's certainly not trying to play a game here. It's just that Venus is broadly intelligent and she can very clearly see the road ahead. Because if he's introducing competitors, which he's inclined to do, and it could be this person we've already talked about, it could be this other person that we have yet to talk about, it could be both of them. I don't know how bad this man is. But she's going to see that for what it is. She's going to see that he's Mars. And she knows that he needs to be approaching her in Venus energy if they're going to have a relationship worth having. If they're going to have one that is sustainable and that's not head doing and it's not going to rob her of her harmony and her peace. Because this is a woman who understands relationships and understands the value that a relationship can bring her in terms of balance and harmony, growth, prosperity. But she knows that she can't be in a relationship with Mars and have that. There is no relationship to be had with Mars. Mars is a soldier. She doesn't want her heart space and her home space, her body, her children, her family to have that kind of energy wrapped up in it. And she can see him. So just like Venus, she's going to make a values-driven decision of the things she values, which is maybe tradition, it might be peace, it might be harmony, fidelity, just treating people kindly. Because this man has a smile and he has a social ability and a charisma, but just you can see by the way he's treated this first woman, he's not kind. He does it all with a smile on his face, but that's not a kind thing to do. The kind thing to do is, I don't feel the same way. I really hope you can move on with your life. I don't think it's best we're around each other. You know, that's the kind thing to do. So she is going to make some kind of values-driven decision here, and she's going to choose to take the path away from him. And this is very divine feminine energy because I can see here that her path is, there's Pluto involved here, so it's probably like discovering her own power. But Pluto does rule over strategy. It's like she realizes who he is, and she realizes the ways that he was trying to control her and possibly other people in her life. She's doing her shadow work, things that were hidden, things that were buried, things that were secretive. In this situation and other secrets, and other situations that she found herself in, she's going to be releasing all of that, and she's very much going to indulge her independence, and he's still going to be attracted to her. Why? She's his Venus. She is what he wants. And I think even as she metamorphosizes and changes, the love doesn't go away between them because she's his Venus. It's not convenient. His attraction to her is not one in the moment. It's not convenient. It's not strategic. I mean, it might well be those things. Of course, he's going to be attracted to her in the moment. Of course, he's going to feel like maybe he can benefit from her, but it's something else entirely. And he's going to have to kind of come to terms with that. But when she chooses to break away from him, he cannot understand her because he has this view on women that they're not as intelligent. And he can tell that this woman here, this Venus woman, is softer than these other two, than the other kind of women that he involves with, and is in some ways more feminine. Again, I think it's just her nature towards him as well because she's his Venus. But so he's always bumped up against that side to her, but he's going to mistreat it and he's going to get the horns because Venus is not a withering violet. It's not a shrinking violet. But he thinks that she's less intelligent, and he sees the softness to her and the kindness and the harmony because she's Venus. She's harmonious. He sees that nature as weakness. And with his strategic mind, he thinks he can maneuver around it or weaponize it or use it against her. Actually, she's tough as nails. Actually, she's the only one with a head on her shoulders in this particular situation. If anybody's getting out of this Bermuda Triangle, it will be her. And she kind of leads the way here for everybody else involved in this situation, not just the other women involved. She's showing this first little one here how to appreciate herself, what self-esteem looks like. You know, she's showing the way out, basically, but also for him too. She's showing the way, because Venus is a spiritual teacher, so that's not like really even surprising. But he can't see that it was her intellect. That's why she moved away from him. He can't admit that she could see exactly what he was and what hell he had in store for her. He can't admit that. So instead, he's probably going to project his own Martian energy onto her because he kind of in some way feels like she bested him, and she didn't best him. She wasn't playing the game. She had self-respect and she made a decision that was in her best interest, because she just feels like if he wants to be with her, he'll choose her. If he's dicking around with other competitors, she just is going, nope, that's Mars, and I won't be cheated on my whole life, and my children will have a better father, as an example. And that's just the way she feels about it. So she's off. She's off, and she honestly might go down a completely different path in life than even she thought possible, because she's got a lot of creativity, and this has set her free in some kind of way. She's following the yellow brick road over here. Okay, so that's the Venus energy. Now there's another female here. Okay, and this is, again, another person that he finds to be like very beautiful and somebody that he would naturally pursue for one reason or another. And again, she comes with some kind of friend group or social standing or something like that. But the difference is she's Mars. And a bird just started like cawing at that, which to me I took as like a warning or a signal or something. She is Mars. Now, she is also going to outsmart him, and she's going to outsmart him from the jump, because actually her life story and his life story are very similar. I actually think she's got a very similar setup karmically for her life that he does here, where she's at the center of this Bermuda Triangle for some kind of masculine energies. Or I think I picked up on this energy before. So for some of you, this person could be bisexual. They could also be gay, something like that. So I don't know if it's like all men on her side, but it's like her love interests. And any of these people could be gay or bisexual. But I'm strongly getting that with her, and I've gotten that before, because there's some kind of Aphrodite energy where she's supposed to be like a protector of women, and it's like her beauty is supposed to be off limits, and she's supposed to sort of give these men the runaround. I think that it's most likely that she's this kind of Mars energy, but she's supposed to be like healthy in it, and she's not currently. But anyways, I digress. So this is a Mars oriented partner. So they're both actually Mars individuals. They're both warriors. So this relationship is a fight. It is a war, and it has been from the beginning. The thing, though, she's got a leg up in this situation, because she will recognize, she knows what she is what I just heard. She knows what she is, and she knows what she's after, and she's going to get it. But this man consistently looks down on feminine energy, doesn't think they're intelligent, doesn't think that, it's like he doesn't think she's got it in her. He thinks that because she's a woman, she's deferential or demure or kind or caring towards him or warm or loving, and she isn't. But she'll play it that way, and I think she did. She's going to play very soft, very demure, because also Mars is a soldier, and it's very strategic. So if he tried to pull her in to go at his Venus, she was like a soldier getting the lay of the land. Oh, okay, so she's this way. Oh, okay, so she's that way. Okay, so I better be that way too. And that's how she wants to win over here. Now, this also to me looks like it could have been an affair between these two, because I think in her life, she's got a Venus energy as well. And I think she's also got somebody that she strings along, somebody that's like a backup plan for her. But she could have been in a relationship with her Venus energy. He could have been in a relationship with his Venus energy, or both of them could have been trying to pursue these Venus energies. Probably not, I don't know, trying to use each other. This is very much a relationship of convenience, and they're both trying to use each other. I think to get attention of their Venus people over here, and to win, because these are people that want to win. And maybe they feel like through using the other person, they can somehow win. So I think for her, I'm kind of getting the sense of an established home. So she could have been like in a relationship that's very committed, where she's living with a partner, could have been married, could have had, kids over here with somebody. And she knows that she's, I think this person would be Venus, and she knows that she's Mars, and I think it could have been coming out about her like that. So if she partners with this masculine energy, it looks like she's more Venus. It looks like she's more relationship-oriented energy. It looks like they feel like they can hide their actual selves behind the other person. But neither of these people went into this relationship wanting to give to the other person, wanting to be there for the other person, wanting to be harmonious and balanced, wanting to pour into the other person, wanting to protect them and take care of them. That's not the way they both wanted to gain something, social status. And this has to do, if this man tried to use this first feminine energy that looked up to him, that would like put him on this pedestal, if he did try to use her, this is one way that his karma could unfold. He could go on the path with his Venus person. I just want to make clear, karma is not always a punishment. Sometimes it can feel that way, but karma is always there to teach us. And he can go on the path with his Venus person, where he's going to be applying self-discipline in order to get himself to live up to his values and to keep his Venus, and to live out love and harmony. He's going to see the value in that. So he's going to change from the inside out. And I think he'll go back and apologize to this first person. If not, though, this Mars feminine here really has the advantage, because she operated in secrecy for a long period of time. Because, like I said, he just didn't think she had it in her. So he bought it hook, line, and sinker when she acted very soft and acted very demure. And she did it strategically until she got the contract, until she got the ring on her finger, until they bought the house, until they had children together, until she'd been with him for a long period of time where she's considered the authority on what kind of man he is and who he is when he's at home. That's a lot of power to give to somebody. But he didn't think about it that way because he didn't think she had it in her. He didn't think women were like that. And he was so focused on his own plan and his own strategy. And also, he's got to learn here that strategy come up through a masculine energy and strategy come up through a feminine energy. Those are very different. Because I think this is a man that feels like he's the puppet master and that's his role as a man, to play puppet master and to get whatever it is that he wants. And with a woman, so he can be more overt and he expects it from men maybe. But I think because he expects it from men, he respects them more. And then he's actually more inclined to have a Venusian kind of relationship with them, to speak to them one-on-one, to speak to them, to consider them, because it's like mutually assured destruction. He doesn't want to get in a fight with the man because they can rock him in his jaw the same way he can. You know what I'm saying? It's something like that. Like that's the only kind of energy, that Mars energy that he respects. But this Mars energy come up through a feminine energy is powered by proxy. It's strategic for a woman. Society doesn't like it when a woman is overt or when she's strong, in an overt kind of way, when she's brazen or brash. So she learns to be subtle. She learns to be demure. She learns to read what you want and to put on the face that you need in order to maneuver you into the position that she's got you in. And then she's just the dominant energy. But it's like he kind of doesn't even know that he got strong-armed, sort of a thing, So she's, once again, in the theme of this reading, outmaneuvered him. She's been stronger than him. She saw exactly what he needed to see, gave him exactly that, and then that's how she triumphed. And she made her position, staying with her or choosing her, the path of least resistance, which is always advantageous to do. So she distracted him, and he entertained her as a competitor to his Venus energy. So that confused him. Like, maybe I should stay here, even though he knew that that's never what he wanted. And he was always trying to use her, and she was trying to use him for a brief moment in time to get what they could out of their relationship. But this, I think, ended up being something much more long-term. And she is just territorial. So she doesn't really care about him. That would surprise him. I think it'll take a while for him to realize just how little she cares about him. She cares about her stuff, and she cares about her social standing. That's what she cares about. So he's been outplayed. So you can see this tower kind of forming in his life. And I feel very much this is like the first half of his life and the second half of his life. So the first half of his life will be building his tower in folly, most likely, because I doubt he's going to take the path with this Venus person. I just don't think he's got it in him. But if he does, I mean, it's still walking on a tightrope, because he could slip and he could, I just don't think she tolerates disrespect, and she doesn't tolerate the third party situation at all. She thinks it's gross and beneath her and beneath him, actually, as well. But so it's like he spends the first part of his life strategizing and pumping up his own ego and telling himself how great he is and how strong he is, and thinking that he's making these like wins. But really all of it's going to collapse and fall in his face, where he's going to realize for all of his strategizing, he couldn't possibly factor in all the variables involved. This is teaching him deference to a higher energy, to like God, fate, karma. But also I feel strong feminine energies here. This is very much goddesses like Aphrodite, Hecate, Artemis, just Athena, like just that are opposing him, that are just showing him that he's stupid, basically. And I think this man has been a level of stupid that he didn't even know in the moment that he was being outmaneuvered by any of these women. He attributed it to something else. I think it could have been even years that it took for him to realize, oh wait, that wasn't what I thought it was. Oh wait, she saw exactly what I was doing. Oh wait, she did this because of that. And he's got to admit that maybe he's not so good at this Mars thing, or maybe this short-term strategizing, because I'm bringing up Athena made me think, she is the goddess of wisdom. And it kind of harkens to the Arachne story, where like Arachne challenged Athena. I don't know like the exact story, but it's like she challenged Athena to a contest. And I don't know, in her realms. I think they thought it was going to be weaving or something, because she was like a really good weaver. But then it was something to do with like debate She tried to pull the wool over and said, okay, well, why don't we tell stories? And the category of stories is all the way that the gods unjustly punished mortals, which obviously is a sticky situation for Athena to get into. So Athena turns her into a spider, basically. Like, she just unleashes her wrath. Because lest you not forget, Athena is calm and she's patient, but she is a war goddess. And it just goes to show that cleverness is not the same thing as wisdom. So Arachne was trying to be clever in terms of baiting Athena into a territory that is inherently not a winnable situation. You see that with narcissists a lot. They love to put you in a no-win situation. But you have to not catch it first, you know? And I love that story because it just shows that there's just one way to deal with it, and it's to not deal with it. It's to tell someone where they can go with their bullshit. And that's what I feel like they're doing with this masculine. It's this short-term cleverness is not the same thing as wisdom. It's not the same thing as being a boss. It's not the same thing as strategy. He fancies himself an emperor because he's in this Mars energy, but the emperor is well-rounded. And how do you get well-rounded? You leave your comfort zone, asshole, at least once in your life. Like, he never has left his comfort zone. This is a man also who sets up the dream. He sets up what looks like he's living the dream, but he doesn't actually live it. It's a very hollow existence. And all of it is because he worships Mars above all else. And he sees no value in other energies and embodying other energies. And he mistakes too. Like, okay, even if you were to tell him, like, you need to start being more like Venus. And he'd be like, okay, well, I don't know what that is. And then he would feel like naked without the Mars energy. And then he would feel like that means it's wrong. Because it feels awkward at the beginning, like everything feels awkward at the beginning, that it means that it's wrong. But really, he's going to catch his stride with it. And then it's going to make him feel more strong. And I feel like that's the path with his Venus person. Yes, he's got to practice some kind of new skill, and it might make him feel fumbly and weird and awkward at the beginning, but he's going to catch his stride. And actually, that's the path to strength. That's actually the path to being an emperor and to being well-rounded. But he's got to respect her. Otherwise, he's going to end up with one of these other idiots, and he's going to think he's winning. So all of this, they're just throwing back in his face. And the second part of his life, I think he might have to get himself out of the situation that he worked so hard to get in some way. It's just, he's got to really confront his own folly, because it's like he did this to himself. There's no getting around, like, I got myself into this position and I did it because I disrespected women. I didn't think that they were intelligent, and every single one of them outplayed me. Every single one of them saw something I couldn't see. And it's because they're not egotistical, you know, and it's because they respect other people to some degree. They recognize that other people have the capacity to spit in their bean curd kind of thing, you know? So he's going to have to get himself out of the situation that he's in, which might actually take a lot of time, energy, and attention, and ironically strategizing. But once he gets out of that, then I feel like the dust is going to settle for him. And the word settle is coming through for him strong. Settle. The dust is going to settle for him. He needs to process. He needs to process exactly who he's been and what he's done to all of these women. He needs to understand who his Venus energy actually is, what Venus energy actually is. He needs to really process how he has gotten himself into the situation. He needs to stop blaming everybody else and projecting his Mars energy out onto everybody else. But there's a possibility here that he tries to settle with one of these options that he knows he's strung along here. And if that's the case, then I feel like there's a karmic choice that opens up for her. And a lot of these women that he was stringing along in the past, and I think there's more than one person that fulfills this category, but there is somebody here dominant in this particular situation, and it's somebody from his deep past. And I think it's somebody that rivaled his Venus energy, that he thought that was strategic for him to do. She outplayed him by saying, okay, I'll rival her. Or by knowing exactly what he was doing and just knowing that she was never going to put up with it. Let me ham it up for you. It reminds me of Ecstasy, the song Ecstasy by Sam Hunt. I just want your ecstasy. She's like, yeah, okay. I just want your ecstasy. You know? And Dunn ran her off all while trying to act like she's demure and sweet when she's low self-esteem and strategizing against him. Hidden enemies. He shouldn't have her around either. His life is worse for having her around. Her life is worse for having him around. But they smile in each other's faces and they tolerate it because they both have low self-esteem. But he may well try to go, even if it's not her, it could be one of these people that he strings along or has strung along in the past. But it'll come back empty-handed because this Mars energy is going to take everything from him. He's going to have to start over. And then there's going to be a karmic choice open up in front of whoever he tries to go back to. And it has to do with Venus energy, because this person here isn't all bad. They're not all Mars. They're not all competitive. They do have like a Venus side. And I think while this man was off pursuing who and whatever he wanted to pursue, they were actually engaged in their Venus. You know, they were building one-to-one relationships that were like pleasant or happy or meaningful to them. And so now they're going to have to choose. Are they going to keep that? Or is it for him? Because there's going to be happiness in this person's life, this person that he wants to try to settle with and go back to. But if they choose him, it's like trying to stunt on people is the only happiness that they'll get. They feel like the cat that's got the cream, because and if that's you, I feel like I should really pop this fantasy bubble. He's not coming back to you for the reason you think. You can't see this man clearly. He's not nice to you for the reason that you think he is. He's not coming back for the reason. It's not because you won. It's not because he finally realized it, no matter what he says, because keep in mind, this man's strategic. And he needs a roof over his head, or he needs some kind of social standing, right? It's because he's ready to settle. That's why he's come back. It's because something else didn't pan out. That's why he's coming back. And if you accept this man, he's still Mars. And so he will erode your harmony in your home. He knows that you don't expect much from him, that you think he's the prize. He knows that still. And I don't think people that he meets currently would think that same thing about him, because remember, Mars is short term. In the long term, that's where that folly is exposed. So that he knows you still look at him as the person he was in the past, and that you still put him up on this pedestal. And so you will try to work hard to earn his attention, and you still think he's the prize, and you're going to do all the labor in your relationship and in your home, and he's going to value that. He will. He'll value that you do all the laundry and that you cook dinner, and that his life seems to have a routine and a structure, and he'll appreciate all of that. But you're not the one he chose. You're the one he settled for. And that's what it will always be. And he nurses that self-esteem wound in you, and he makes you think that the way to solve it is through him. He wants to, and that's what he uses to control you. And I feel there's a son here. There's like an older adult child that's a son. It might be your oldest. I don't know. I think you're going to have to choose between him and him, because I don't think they get along, and I think it's going to erode the harmony. I think your son will come back less and less. I think that because this man will erode the harmony that you've built in your life since he's been away. And you'll think he's your happiness, and you'll think, oh my gosh, I got everything that I ever wanted, because this is kind of about a victory lap for you in some regard. Because I think if you ran off his love, I think that you have not had your love. But you can have it now. He's not it. So if you let him go, because that's your lesson, you both do not serve each other. You have a lust for him that you should not have. And if you let him go, I think real love will come into your life as like a second act here. And this is a real funny guy, real casual guy, gets along with your family. Your kids love him. It's the opposite kind of energy. I'm seeing him juggling bowling pins. So I don't know if that means something to you. Like he could bowl, or he could, he's just a good time, but he's your love. He sees the value in you. You're not on the back burner. And he's going to come into your life as a second act. He couldn't come into your life as a first act, especially if you meddled in some kind of situation that you shouldn't have. And that's very karmic, and they were never going to let him come in if you involved in that. But he could potentially, it's not a life sentence with you, because it's like you've learned your lesson and you've got this other side to you. It's not all encompassing with you. So you could potentially have the love of your life here. But you've got to choose the path away from this guy. And you need to see that you're the prize. You bring more to the table than he does, because you are in some loving energy. You know what that feels like. You know what a relationship like that feels like. And I will just say it, like this Venus energy, if they had a real love between the two of them, and if she could walk away from him, then why can't you? Because I'm sure they're attracted to each other and everything else, but they had actual love between the two of them. He wasn't acting right, and she could walk away from him. So again, you have no excuse for not being able to. It's not a deep love. It's nothing at all like what they had. And she showed you the way out. And I feel like this is all coming to a head with your shadow work and everything else. And because you're definitely not like being demonized at all by spirit. I don't think that you, if you ran off someone's true love, or you were a part of that for selfish reasons, then they ran off your true love too. at the beginning part of your life. But you can potentially have him back now because you've learned your lessons and you've played nice and you've built real relationships with people, and he would love to meet you, or he would love to ask you out, or, whatever it is. But you got to tell this man no. And you've got to see him for the hidden enemy that he is. Because for some of you, maybe he was the problem with your love here in the past as well. Because I can see that there's some kind of heavy karma. For running off a true love, there's some kind of heavy karma for both of you. So it could be he lost his true love and you lost yours. But he's still a Mars. So, okay, that's what I have for you. If that resonates, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Bye, guys.